Welcome, everyone. My name is Shawn Jones, and I'm the CEO of the iNetrapreneur Network. And today I have with me an incredible individual. He helps individuals invest in real estate, whether it's for themselves, their families, going into ventures with others. It's all about real estate. I have founder, creator, consultant of Stuart Gethner Education and Consulting, Mr. Stuart Gethner. Stuart, welcome.
Hey, Shawn. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So, Stuart, it's no secret. I love what you are doing to help others understand the ins and outs of real estate. The real estate market is in such a dynamic, interesting time that we're in. We're seeing real estate prices skyrocketing, but yet there's people that you work with, that you teach how they can get into the real estate market and make money, even at this time that we're in, where properties are overpriced in many cases.
Well, I'll tell you, Shawn, at the end of the day, it's all about whether the property makes money or not. So I'd like to say it's all about the math. So regardless of what the purchase price is, and you're right, prices of properties have been escalating, but you know what? So have rents. And so has everything else. Have you seen the price of gas lately? So as everything kind of incrementally goes up, as long as the numbers make sense, there's still an opportunity to invest.
There really is. And what I like is you mentioned about invest. And when you look at real estate, you can look at it on the short-term spectrum or the long-term. You help people, guide them as to what's best for them. What is the difference between a short-term investment in real estate versus the long haul? What does that look like, and what's the difference between the two?
Sure. So that's a great question, and there's actually two answers. From a tax standpoint, a short-term investment is something that's 12 months or less. So anything more than 12 months is considered by the IRS and your accountant to be a longer-term investment, which affects your capital gains rate. Okay. And so when we extrapolate that and bring it into the real estate world, something short-term would be like a fix and flip. Something short-term would be a wholesale property where you find a property and you sell it to a fix and flipper for a small margin markup. So that would be more of a short-term approach to real estate investing. And of course, the longer term is going to be more like the buy and hold, whether you want to buy and repair and live in it and sell it, whatever the BRRRR method, whatever that looks like to you. But certainly anything that you're going to try to create long-term wealth is going to be more along the lines of buy and hold. Short-term is going to create immediate cash flow. So if you didn't have enough money to make this month's mortgage payment, you might want to try to do a wholesale property. Or if you see that there's cash flow issues coming up 2, 3, 4 months down the road, you might want to try a fix and flip. But if you're looking for the long-term wealth, more along the lines of buying and holding.
Mm-hmm. In real estate, there's always the unknown factors, whether it is you buy a property sight unseen. You know, they have those lists that you stand on the steps and you buy them. Mm-hmm. What are some of the challenges right now that are you seeing in the real estate market that people are encountering? Is it finance? Is it finding others that you can partner with? Is it the condition of the properties themselves?
Well, another great question. And it's probably, depending on the person, all of the above. So I had a great mentor once teach me that everything's all about the financing. Every deal, every transaction, it's about getting quality financing. And he would joke, even the oldest profession in the world, it's about the financing, it's about the money. So for some folks, it's going to be the financing or the money issue. For other folks, it's going to be the actual property, the work that needs to be done. But Shawn, we buy property sight unseen pretty much all the time. And I just had one of my clients on the phone yesterday, and she's looking to buy some property up in Utah. And so she's going to not have a chance to really get up there and evaluate it other than maybe with like a FaceTime or a Zoom call with a realtor. But I told her, and the example was simple. I said to her, what is the price of the current house that you live in? What is that price about? And she said, about $390,000 to $400,000. I said, great. So if the property across the street from you, right across the street, was selling for $100,000, $200,000, you don't really need to see it unless there was a big fire or some damage in there. You know that that's a great price. So like in any business, you make your money when you buy. And so if we can find the right property and buy it right, we can buy things sight unseen.
Mhm. You've talked a lot about financing, or I should say you've touched on the financing.
Sure.
For some to get qualified for that 2, 3, 500, even $1 million home may not be realistic for an individual. What are some options that people can consider if they want to buy these investment properties, but they can't get the financing on their own?
Well, you touched on it just a few moments ago in the previous question. We would do a joint venture or a partnership or some type of strategic alliance. You go back 10, 15 years, back in 08, 09, when the market was going in the other direction, and you could buy property on the courthouse steps for 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar. They were giving property away. Well, you fast forward to today, we may find properties might be a little bit more difficult to come by, but there's a lot more money. Back then, you couldn't buy the property for 30 cents on the dollar because banks dried up your home equity line of credit. They dried up credit lines. It was tough to get a loan back then. Now there's so much money in the marketplace, and not just with lenders, but with non-traditional lenders such as investors. So the answer to that question would be, let's find you a partner where we could do a joint venture, a strategic alliance where maybe you manage the property, you bring the property, you update or upgrade the property, and someone else, an individual, provides the funds.
And that is becoming more and more popular over time, where people come in with partners, and not just one partner or two partners. You can have lots of different partners coming in and each splitting a piece of the pie.
You're right. And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
When you look at bringing in multiple number of partners or investors, what are some things that you should make sure that you have in place before you do the transaction? Because it's always about covering yourself and making sure that all the parties involved are accountable for what they agreed to. Do you need to have attorneys? Do you need to have specific contracts? What does this look like?
Again, another great question. So whenever we want to get together with an alliance, a partnership, some type of joint venture, we want to talk about all the what ifs before we go into the venture. So what I do with all my clients and investors is we talk about what's the exit strategy. What if I got hit by a bus or struck by lightning? Do you want my lovely bride as your partner? Do you want the other partners to step in? So we have all those conversations up front. But what if you need your money back before we're going to buy an apartment complex and hold on to it for 5, 7, 9 years? What if you need some money because you have some health challenges? So all these things are discussed ahead of time, and then they're drawn up legally, like you mentioned, with an attorney and some documentation. And I always equate these documents to like leases with tenants. You tend to look at them twice. The first time you look at them, like a lease or a partnership agreement, is when you're entering into the agreement. And then the second time you want to see it is when you're trying to get out of the agreement or get out of the lease, right? So as long as everything goes smoothly and is copacetic, usually partnerships are very successful in strategic ways. And one of the things that we do here at Gethner Education and Consulting is we not only teach people how to invest in real estate, I find a lot of investors. So I kind of I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. I embrace the Tony Robbins model of marketing. I love educating. It's something that I do, just kind of passionate about. And so I think it's kind of cheesy to say, if you buy my stuff today in the back of the room, I'll throw in those Ginsu knives. Right? I think that's cheesy. So we educate, and we'll find investors and pair them up with clients that are looking to expand and create wealth. And so that's, I think, a benefit of what we do.
When somebody is looking at to become an investor, whether it's that fix and flip or maybe hold it for a period of time, but they still have to put the upgrades in there or do the repairs. Sometimes you can put too much into a property and it's not a benefit. What are some, your top threes? I always like the top three. What are the top three things potential investors need to look at when they want to clean up a property or upgrade it a little bit? What are those three areas?
Those are pretty simple: kitchen, master bedroom, master bathroom, and curb appeal, landscaping. So those are some of the things that we want to make sure that people have. If you pull up to a property and it just doesn't appeal to you because it's kind of dirt ugly, you're not even going to get inside to see the nice job that the flipper did. And then most people like a nice kitchen, open area floor plan, not just women, but men. And also the master bathroom. That's where you spend most of your time, is in the master bedroom and bathroom when you sleep and such. And so we want those to look nice. There's other areas too you could focus on too. Sean, you could focus on flooring. You could focus on paint colors. You can focus on fixtures. But like you asked, the top three, those are going to be the top three.
Is it a benefit to look for properties that have pools and spas, or would those be properties maybe to stay away from because they bring a whole new can of worms if there's problems?
Another great question. And that's and that really is, as the answer is clear as mud. It depends on the person. So many of my clients don't want a pool, even if it's a flip or a rental. They just prefer not to have one. You could ask the same question about being in an HOA. Do some people want to be in HOA? Some people do want to be in HOA. When they buy, preferably for myself, I don't want to be in HOA. Another great question would be 1-story or 2-story, carport or garage, more along the lines of personal preference. So I don't think there's really a right or wrong. Probably if there's any wrong, it's probably not getting involved at all and just continuing to sit on the sidelines.
That's incredible. Stuart, if somebody would like to learn more about Gethner Education and Consulting, because I know you have your education consulting business, you're also an instructor for the Academy at iNetrepreneur Network. If somebody would like to schedule a discovery call, how can they get in contact with you?
Okay, so very simple, obviously. I'll give you my phone number and the website. The website's easy. Contact Stuart. ContactStuart.com. That'll be me, and you'll be able to schedule an appointment. And phone number is 480-443-4500, 480-443-4500. And of course, the email, Stuart@StuartGethner.com.
Stuart, I want to thank you so much for being here today. And more importantly, I want to thank you for helping others navigate the real estate industry, because whether you want to purchase a property for your own personal usage, or you're looking at creating that legacy for others, your legacy of wealth, and to create a better life for you and your family, whatever that looks like by design, you're doing that for others, and you come from the place of education first. So I just want to say thank you so much for creating Gethner Education and Consulting.
Sean, you're welcome. And you take a look, and what struck me as a fancy in my previous life, I'm a pharmacist. I used to own pharmacies here in town. But what struck my fancy was when I was younger, is you take a look at the millionaires, now billionaires on the Forbes list, and the majority of them made their money in real estate. I don't need to be a billionaire. I just want to make sure I make a comfortable living for me and my family and leave a legacy, like you said. So this stuff isn't rocket science. I'd be happy to help others and educate them, hold their hand, work shoulder to shoulder to create their success. Thanks for having me.
Thank you again, Stuart. For those of you who have just watched the interview of Stuart Gethner, he is the founder, owner, creator, and educator behind Gethner Education and Consulting. Stuart is also one of the speakers at the upcoming Art of Connection Global Summit, which is an online event happening on March 31st. If you would like to learn more from Stuart, he will also be hosting private workshops throughout the event, so you actually get to experience Stuart firsthand. You can go to the website at artofconnectionsummit.com.